All right, I'll go first since she's feeding the baby. So, again, my name's Matt. I serve here on the production team, and I just wanted to share part of our testimony. We're going to kind of have two parts. One is financial and provision related, and the other one is healing. So she'll do the healing, I'll do the provision part. So some of y'all probably have heard some of this, and but if not, if this is your first time kind of following our story, I'll kind of give a brief synopsis, but this is kind of a testimony in progress. So it's not like a finished event. It's kind of ongoing. So about 2 years ago, the Lord spoke to us, both of us independently, and said that we wouldn't be at my job much longer. I worked at a big corporation in Georgia, and he said, you're going to be moving up here to Pennsylvania, and you're not going to be at your job much longer. So we said, okay. And, a very short time after that, I was fired from my job. So it's a good thing he told us it was going to happen before it happened, or we would have been probably upset about that. But when it happened, we said, okay, we knew, the Lord was going to do that. They gave us a severance package, and we moved very shortly after that up here to State College. We were living kind of on savings and some investments that we had at that point. So we said, okay, well, we're okay. We have some investment money. We have, enough cushion, so we should be able to at least move and be okay for a little while. But very quickly, when we got here, all those investments that we had literally lost all their value. So they went almost to zero, very, very fast. And so we said, okay, wow, Lord, this is going to be interesting. We now realized that we were going to be in a season where we were going to be depending on him literally every day for the daily bread, the manna that you mentioned earlier. After that period of time, we found out that Ellie was diagnosed with stage 4 melanoma cancer, and kind of our whole world changed. Everything was turned upside down, and we realized that I needed to be at home taking care of the kids and taking care of her. So we literally prayed, Lord, what are we going to do? How are we going to make it? I need to be working, but I can't work while I need to be at home taking care of her. So how are we going to do this? And I'll be honest, it was one of the hardest things I've ever walked through as a man, because your identity is kind of tied up in being the provider for your family and doing those things. So my whole life, I was working hard, earning lots of money, making sure everything was taken care of. And then all of a sudden, the Lord's asking me to lay that down and to trust him and to step away from what I've known and what I was comfortable with and in my comfort zone, and just to follow him into something completely unknown. So that was hard. There's been moments during this journey that I've been tempted to just go back to, kind of going back to Egypt, or go back to what I knew how to do, to get another job, to return to what's familiar, and to what feels safe and secure. And every time I've had that feeling, when we would get down to our last resources, I would just pray and say, Lord, what do we do now? We're out of money. How are we going to meet the bills? There's still expenses. And he's always said, and I've said, we're down to our last whatever. And he said, well, your last is not my last. So there's been lots of those moments, across the last year. And then there would be times when he would say that, and I'd look out my sliding glass door window onto the porch, and I'd see some sparrows out there on our bird feeder. And he would say, literally in my spirit, he would say, I told you I would take care of you more than them, and he would constantly kind of bring me back to, no, you're in my hand, and I'm going to take care of you. So that season, to say the least, has stretched me. It's challenged me to my core. It still is. The Lord has been stripping away all of my self-reliance, all of my independence, all of my figure-it-outness, and he's been teaching us to really depend on him fully. I just wanted to give you a couple of examples of ways tangibly that he has provided over the past season. There was there was a local golf tournament that that chose our family to receive the proceeds that they raise every year for a family going through cancer. It was a friend of a friend of a family member who mentioned our name, and we have no idea. We don't know these people at all, but they came out of the blue and just brought us the proceeds of this golf tournament. They also, once they met us and found out what was going on, they said, well, we're going to provide Christmas for your family too. And, they brought more gifts than we knew what to do with. So, it was just very much abundance, just overflowing abundance. There was also a month we couldn't pay rent, and we prayed, and a friend from Georgia, without knowing anything about what was going on, said, what's your Venmo account? And literally sent us the money we needed for the rent. Another time we had no way to cover bills again, and the Lord prompted me to reopen an old app that I had on my phone, and I reinstalled it and looked in there, and there was a forgotten balance in that app of money that we forgot we had, and it covered the expenses for a couple months. So, beyond that, people have given to us very, very generously. They've encouraged us, supported us, and it's been right on time every time. Unbeknownst to them, the timing has always been perfect. So, the testimony that I want to leave with y'all today is, as we've been walking through some of the hardest times of our life and the hardest season, it's been one of the most faith-building and character-building and growing, stretching seasons of our life. And what we've learned is that God is always faithful, He is always good, and He will always take care of His children.
Amen.
Thank you. Wow. So good. I love that story. Hearing it again and again is so good, Matt. Thank you. Yeah, come on, Ellie. Share your version.
So I'm Ellie, his wife, and I just want to honor him and say he is a man of God. He has led our family through this, and he has held me and held us, and kept our hearts in faith when we were like, what are we going to do, Lord? What is this? So again, as he mentioned, 9 months ago, I was pregnant with my seventh baby, our seventh together, Isaac, which means he laughs. And anyways, I was having back pain, and we didn't know what it was. Turned out it was stage 4 metastatic melanoma cancer, as we found out, and had that night, after we found it out, they removed the tumor off my spine, did an emergency C-section when he was 36 weeks along, and the next day they did a big surgery on my back to remove it. And then through the process, they also discovered that I had papillary thyroid cancer. So I went very quickly from just normal, healthy, just, loving my babies, loving my husband, just loving life, to you have stage 4 cancer, and all sorts of craziness that just kind of broke open in a very quick fashion. And the enemy hit with so much fear. Fear of, Lord, am I going to die? And leave my husband with 7 precious little ones that, we have all these dreams and promises that the Lord spoke to us about, stage 4 melanoma. 15, 20 years ago was a death sentence. And now they have new technologies, new therapies, and I began immunotherapy for the melanoma, and immediately started having major side effects that landed me in the hospital. I think I went to the ER probably 6 times in a couple month period, just because things just started happening. My immune system went on attack, overdrive, just attacking everything, which can be a side effect. But the beauty was that it was attacking the cancer. And I guess it was about a month and a half ago, I had a PET scan, and they found, for all intents and purposes, no detectable melanoma in my body. They couldn't see it on the spine, and there was a little residual, what they believe is scar tissue in my lung where the other tumor was, but they believe that that's just residual scar tissue. and there's kind of some processes going on still with my esophagus. I had some severe radiation damage that made my esophagus constrict. It's supposed to be about 18 to 22 millimeters wide. I didn't know this, but it had constricted down to 9 millimeters. So I couldn't, I was having a really hard time swallowing food. So I've been kind of going every 2 weeks to get dilations of my esophagus. So it's just been this journey of the Lord taking me through healing, and we believe the melanoma, we're praising the Lord for healing, and there's other things that are such a process right now. But I felt like the Lord wanted me to share this morning to tether to the truth of who he is in the face of contradiction. And when the fear hits, when the enemy tries to hit me with fear, I have to say, no, Lord, you are Jehovah Rapha. You are the Lord who heals. Okay, Lord, when I can't swallow my food because my esophagus has constricted, okay, I'm not going to go into fear. Jesus, you are Jehovah Rapha. You are the Lord who heals. When a doctor's report comes in, and again, that fear paralyzes, I have to speak out, Jesus, you are the Lord who heals. And so he's just been showing me, just declare who I am. Declare and believe that. And I'll sit and just listen to the Lord and just kind of take notes of what he said. And he has said, you will walk through this. You will walk through. And I was hearing, I don't know if it was on the radio or what, but just talking about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and how they were in the fiery furnace. And when they came out, they had no smell of smoke on them. And I felt like the Lord said, Ellie, that will be you. There will be no smell of smoke on you. There will be, but that I have scars on my back, an incision, scars on my side, tattoo marks where they had to do the radiation, and all these scars from removing my thyroid, all these things. He said, those will be your testimony, but there will be no detection of where the enemy hits you. But you will testify and declare that I am Jehovah Rapha, the Lord who heals. So if any of you are here today and you might be physically going through something that needs healing, or even emotionally walking through something that needs healing, declare and tether to that truth. He will bring you back to that, and just continue to declare that the Lord is Jehovah Rapha. He is your healer, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, and he will heal you. So,
Yeah, so good.